Hello everyone, and welcome to This is America. Today's guest is Friedmann Senior Fellow at the Washington Institute, Hanin Ghaddar. But first, here are the top 3 US headlines for this week. Conservative activist Charlie Kirk was shot dead while speaking at Utah Valley University. Authorities arrested a suspect, 22-year-old Tyler Robinson, after a nationwide manhunt. President Trump has called for the death penalty and blamed political opponents, while Kirk's widow pledged to continue his campus tour. On September 5, 2025, President Trump signed an executive order establishing a new state sponsor of wrongful detention designation. This designation allows governments to impose sanctions, visa restrictions, and other penalties against countries that wrongfully detain Americans. Secretary of State Marco Rubio praised the order as unprecedented action to protect U.S. citizens overseas. Americans marked September 11, 2025 with ceremonies in New York City, at the Pentagon, and in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. Moments included reading of names, tolling bells, wreath-laying, and moments of silence. President Trump and First Lady Melania Trump took part in memorial events, including a commitment to never forget. The anniversary also stirred reflection on how 9/11 continues to shape U.S. national policy, memory, and security approaches. And that's your U.S. recap for the week. Big news from Washington, D.C. The U.S. Department of War has unveiled a $14.2 million security assistance package for the Lebanese armed forces. The goal? To boost Lebanon's ability to dismantle weapons stockpiles and military infrastructure controlled by non-state groups, most notably Hezbollah. The aid is being funded through the Presidential Drawdown Authority, the same mechanism often used for rapid security support abroad. This package includes demolition tools like shaped charges, blasting caps, detonating cords, and time fuses, along with generators, vehicles, and support equipment. According to the Pentagon, the equipment is designed to help Lebanese forces patrol more effectively, dispose of unexploded ordnance, and neutralize hidden weapons caches. The announcement comes as Lebanon pushes forward with a plan to enforce state control over all weapons inside its territory. Washington says the support is part of its broader regional strategy to counter Iranian-backed militant groups. In plain terms, U.S. officials are framing this as an effort to empower the Lebanese army to degrade Hezbollah's military capabilities, while also reinforcing the Lebanese state's authority after decades of instability fueled by armed non-state actors. So what does this mean going forward? The US is signaling that it sees Lebanon's army as the key to stability and as a frontline partner in the wider fight against Iran's regional influence. It's with great pleasure that I welcome my first guest ever on This is America, Ms. Hanin Ghaddar, Friedmann Senior Fellow at the Washington Institute. Ms. Ghaddar, thank you for being with us. Let's jump right in. How would you qualify the Lebanese official approach vis-à-vis the disarming of Hezbollah and other militias?
Well, this is a very good question to start with because it will definitely allow me to analyze a little bit the scenarios that we're going into. So the Lebanese government took a good decision in August, on August 5 and 7th, in terms of asking the Lebanese army to disarm, to come up with a plan to disarm Hezbollah and other armed militias in Lebanon by the end of the year. There was a very clear deadline. However, in the last parliamentary session, when the Lebanese army presented its plan, there was no longer a deadline for disarmament. On the contrary, the Lebanese army wanted 3 months to finish south of Litani, and then the rest has zero timeline. So we don't know when and how the Lebanese army is going to disarm Hezbollah. And this is very concerning because the Lebanese government approved it. When they say welcomed it, it means also that it approved it. When the Lebanese government walks back from a clear deadline to something that is so vague and problematic like that, it means that the Lebanese government is no longer serious about disarming Hezbollah. It means the Lebanese government no longer wants to give the army a deadline, meaning that the Lebanese government is giving Hezbollah the time it needs in order to prepare itself for elections. If Hezbollah is still armed by the next parliamentary elections, they will be able to win the 27 parliamentary seats. And this is what the Lebanese government is giving Hezbollah today. So this is very problematic and it's very concerning.
But do you think that Prime Minister Nawaf Salam realizes the gravity of this situation? And does he realize that it's Lebanon's last chance to redeem itself internationally?
Well, Prime Minister Nawaf Salam definitely realizes the gravity of the situation, and he is under both Saudi and American pressure to go ahead with the disarmament without delay. However, he is also part of the Lebanese wider political decision that does not want to confront Hezbollah. So he's trying to walk a thin line between avoiding a confrontation with Hezbollah while at the same time telling the international community that he's taking bold decisions in terms of disarmament. This thin line is too thin for our situation, and he doesn't realize at the end of the day he will need to take a decision. Either comply with the disarmament plan that he promised the international community, that is disarming Hezbollah as soon as possible with a clear timeline, or pleasing Hezbollah and giving them the time they need to prepare for the elections. He has to take a position. He can no longer please everybody. He can no longer walk this fine line. He thinks that he is successfully walking this fine line, but eventually he has to fall on one of these two sides, and he has to decide. So far, his decisions are very vague, and the Lebanese people cannot really take vagueness anymore.
Okay, but Hezbollah seems to be on its last leg, politically and militarily. So yet Naim Qasim insists that the disarming will not take place and that he remains defiant in his stance. Will there be, in your opinion, an open confrontation between Hezbollah and the Lebanese armed forces?
Well, it's very clear that Hezbollah is not willing to surrender its arms. Definitely not happening. They are willing to give its known locations in the south of Litani to the Lebanese army as a way of compromise, hoping that they will sneak back eventually, like they did in 2006. However, they are very clear, and it's not just a Hezbollah decision, it's an Iranian decision, that they will not disarm. This is the end of them. Once they disarm, they will end, because Hezbollah is not a political party. Hezbollah does not have a socio-economic vision for Lebanon. They are a military party, and their arms is their identity. Once you strip them of their arms, you're stripping them from their identity and existence. So they will never surrender their arms. However, the Lebanese army and the current government will not confront Hezbollah. That is also very, very clear. So what's going to happen? The two scenarios that we will see is that the Lebanese army and the Lebanese government will let Hezbollah continue to be disarmed, and we see the elections happening with Hezbollah armed, meaning that they politically will be empowered. When they have their arms, they can use them to intimidate opponents and force the Shia to vote for the 27 seats for Hezbollah and Amal, which means that their political presence within the system, that is the parliament and eventually the government, will be very, very strong, which means that Hezbollah and Amal will be able to actually decide the next Speaker of the House and influence the next government formation. This is very dangerous. Even if they are very weak militarily, they are still they're still okay politically, and they want to stay as part of the political system. That is the most dangerous thing. Being part of the political system is just not only to influence politics, it's also to give them the tools to rebuild their military infrastructure, and also to continue influencing the cash flow, the cash economy, which is the shadow economy, where all the cash money is being laundered and flowing to their own coffers. So this is very dangerous. Once you allow them to stay armed, they will win the 27 Shia seats. They will be stronger politically, which means that they will be stronger financially and militarily. So this is not just about elections, it's about the future of Hezbollah and the future of Lebanon.
Okay, but do you think that these elections will actually take place?
They will take place. The question is not whether they're going to take place or not. The question is whether they're going to take place on time or will they be postponed. There's a lot of talk about the elections being postponed because I don't think anyone would allow Hezbollah to enter the elections with their arms. What the decision of the government in the government cabinet session, the last cabinet sessions that witnessed the army presentation, it's very clear that the government took a decision not to confront Hezbollah and not to have a timeline, which means that they will allow Hezbollah to be armed for the elections. This means also there will be counter efforts in order to postpone the elections until Hezbollah is disarmed. So the question today is that if we have the elections today or on time, which is May 2026, and Hezbollah is still armed, which is the very possibility now, it means that we will have a very strong Hezbollah in the next parliament. If we postpone the elections and wait until Hezbollah is completely disarmed, then we have a chance of having a very different Hezbollah in the next 4 years. So this is why there's a lot of talk about disarming Hezbollah before the elections or postponing the elections. The other scenario that we might witness is actually the Israelis, which are a very important player in Lebanon today. So if nothing happens from the Lebanese government and the decision to stay, on the side of the narrative, which is we want to disarm Hezbollah, but without practical steps of doing it, north of Litani. South of Litani it's being done, but north of Litani is really the key. Then it seems that we are inviting Hezbollah, we are inviting the Israelis to come back to Lebanon and actually finish the job that we couldn't do. So these are the two scenarios. Either we wait until Hezbollah is disarmed, which might take years, or the Israelis will do it for us if we can't really do it ourselves. And it seems so far that the Lebanese government is not being very, very serious about disarmament because they have not really identified a timeline and a timetable for disarmament, which means that the other option is another. Unfortunately, it's like we're inviting Israel to come back and finish the job for us.
We covered the local situation, so in Lebanon. What about DC? So is Washington confident about the disarming taking place, and does it trust the LAF's disarmament plan to come to fruition?
Well, there is the trust in the Lebanese army still exists. Definitely, otherwise you will not see increased assistance. You would, if there's no trust in the Lebanese armed forces, you would see a complete cut of all U.S. assistance to the Lebanese armed forces. On the contrary, we see a small increase, encouragement. There is trust. The trust is there because it's not a matter of capability. They trust the army's capability of doing the job, and they want the U.S. This administration actually offered the Lebanese army more assistance if they start actually disarming Hezbollah north of Litani. The question is really the political decision. So the U.S. Is not very confident in the political decisions. They are confident in the army's capabilities, but they're not very confident about the political decisions. They are very wary. They understand that it's a bold step actually to say that the government wants to disarm Hezbollah, which basically stripping Hezbollah of its legitimacy. However, they're very wary and concerned that there's no timeline. They're very wary and concerned that we haven't seen anything north of Litani so far. And they're very wary and concerned also that they will have to deal with another Israeli war in Lebanon, because that seems to be the more plausible scenario. So they will keep pushing. There will be a lot of pushing. And we saw so far a lot of carrots and less sticks. But I think from now on, we will be seeing less carrots and more sticks, in the sense that more pressure tools on the Lebanese government and basically for those who are hindering the disarmament efforts, that is Hezbollah and its allies in the political systems that are helping Hezbollah with their smuggling, cash smuggling, cash flow, etc. So we will see some measures like sanctions. We will see more measures, more pressure measures from the U.S. to Lebanon in order to push in the right direction rather than wait and see what happens.
Talking about the carrot and the stick, do you think that the Trump administration will be able to bring Lebanon into the fold of the Abraham Accords?
Well, we've seen definitely this is a very good question. We've seen a lot of talk about this. We've seen statements, including Lebanon and the next, Abraham Accords wave in the region. It's still too early to see, like a very clear effort in that direction. However, two things have happened that are very encouraging in that direction. Is that one, this administration is all about, peace in the region, not just in the region and globally, but definitely everyone in this administration, when it comes to Lebanon, when you talk to them, they definitely believe that peace is possible between Lebanon and Israel. The other thing is that the peace narrative inside Lebanon has become very public, like the way we are talking about it now. A couple of years ago, that would have been impossible. We would not be able to talk about peace. The narrative of peace inside Lebanon has become very public, is no longer a taboo. And this is definitely reverberating in Washington in the sense that the Lebanese people actually do want to do this. The only hindrance really is Hezbollah's arms, because as long as Hezbollah is armed, it's very difficult to go there. And of course, so there are a number of issues that we have to deal with while we're working for peace. Like, for example, the law that criminalizes communication between Lebanese and Israelis. That's a very problematic issue. The border demarcation, a lot of things that need to be discussed. But if we discuss them one by one, it might help go further. But I think eventually, if we talk about peace generally, it will help us also overcome these hindrances very fast.
So you would go as far as saying that we are witnessing the premises of a peace deal with Israel?
The premises, in the sense that as a narrative, yes, we are already talking about it. People in Washington are talking about it. People in Lebanon are talking about it, and this is a very good start to get to start moving from the narrative to practical steps. And I think the next phase would be about peace. We need to disarm Hezbollah as soon as possible, because the next phase would definitely be the peace between Lebanon and
what
Israel.
about the benefits that Lebanon can, access to, since if there is a peace deal? So people don't talk enough about this, but this is a huge part of Lebanon's interest. Why is that?
Absolutely. I think everyone knows, especially the Shia community in the south of Lebanon, know more than anyone about the benefits of peace, because peace is not just about peace. Peace is about ending the war. And the main people who are benefiting from peace, that is ending the war, is the people in south of Lebanon. Because as you see every day, there's something happening, a bomb or a strike or an assassination. People in the south are not living like the rest of the Lebanese. So they will benefit first and foremost by a peace deal between Lebanon and Israel. And it doesn't mean that they have to love Israel and go to Israel and start partying in Tel Aviv. It means that they no longer have to suffer the war and its repercussions. An additional benefit of this kind of deal between Lebanon and Israel is not just security and military cooperation, but it also economic. And this is something that Lebanon is in dire need to.
Absolutely.
Lebanon will be joining the peace axis in the region, which basically means the prosperous and liberal axis in the region, rather than being part of the destruction axis of the region, that is the Iranian axis. Lebanon has a choice to make today. Do they want to be part of the peace axis of the region, or do they want to be part of the resistance axis in the region? And those who call for resistance are eventually realizing that resistance is dead. So we really have no choice, because the resistance narrative is that Hezbollah is getting bombed every day and they're not responding. This means that the resistance is dead. So if you really choose resistance, it means you're choosing death. And the other only option really is the peace axis, which means that not only the war will end, Lebanon will become prosperous, and Lebanon will get what it deserves in terms of investments and technology and everything that Lebanon is capable of hosting, because the Lebanese people are actually capable of being part of one of the main actors in the region in terms of economy, investment, technology. Lebanon can be a huge technology hub. Like this is something that Lebanon has always imagined but never really achieved. And this is our chance. This is our opportunity.
Thank you so much, Hanin Ghaddar, for being my guest on This is America. And thank you for sharing those insights.
Thank you very much, Celia. Really pleasure. Really my pleasure.
Thank you. Coming up next, we take a closer look at Donald Trump's visit in London and what it means on the ground. Here's our report by Maroon Shaheen.
Donald Trump's recent state visit to the United Kingdom has renewed attention on the special relationship between Washington and London, a term popularized by Winston Churchill to describe a unique alliance. A state visit is the most solemn form of diplomacy. It involves an official invitation from the head of state, military honors, and a prestigious program such as a royal banquet. Invited by King Charles III, Trump received these highest honors. Behind the ceremonies, the message is clear. Both countries want to showcase the strength of their strategic, political, and military partnership. This visit is historic. No American president has ever been invited twice for a state visit to the UK. It signals continuity at the highest level, despite changes of leadership on both sides of the Atlantic. Beyond ceremonial honors, the discussions focused on concrete strategic issues. A major highlight is the Atlantic Partnership for Advanced Nuclear Energy, designed to accelerate the deployment of small modular reactors in the UK, with plans to build up to 12 reactors in Hartlepool. The agreement also includes the development of advanced data centers powered by small modular reactors in Nottinghamshire, aiming to reduce reliance on Russian nuclear fuel by 2028. Energy, technology, security, and global cooperation were central to these talks. To further understand the significance of this trip, let's flash back to 2019, when Trump made his first state visit. At that time, he was welcomed by Queen Elizabeth II. The protocol featured ceremonial honors, a state banquet, and discussions on trade and security. Notably, Trump praised Prime Minister Theresa May's handling of Brexit, highlighting the importance of the US-UK relationship during a period of political transition in the UK. By revisiting both moments, 2019 and 2025 reveals both continuity and evolution of the central role of the transatlantic alliance. However, the 2025 visit demonstrates the ongoing strategic importance of US-UK cooperation in areas like energy, nuclear technology, and global security.
That's it for today's episode. Thank you all for watching and see you next Wednesday on This is Beirut.